Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
We have been given a gift by God today to usher in a new dynasty.
Now you get RFK Jr.
Don't you want a president who's going to make America healthy again?
You get Tulsi Gabbard.
Putting our country in a continual state of war.
You get Elon Musk and you get J.D. Vance.
A hell of a way to start the next 4 years.
The right-wing Avengers.
We have an army of digital soldiers.
Department of Defense under Donald Trump will achieve peace through strength.
Shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one.
The rescission of 78 Biden-era executive actions, executive orders, presidential memoranda, and others.
The golden age of America has most definitely begun.
Begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay.
They're getting the dirtbags off these streets.
There's one guy who can fix this shit, and it's Donald Trump.
What's storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Thunder breaks, the ground is shaking from the weight. Voices crying in the night, but freedom burns a steady light. We hold the line, we won't let go. Through every trial, the truth will show. This is your daily dose. Open your eyes, see through the smoke, see through the lies. Rise from the silence, hear freedom's call. One voice, one people, united we stand tall.
Hearts awaken, chains undone. A new day breaks, the dawn has come. Through every battle, through the flame, our faith in God remains the same. The storm may rage, the night may fall, but hope will answer stronger than all.
This is your daily dose. Courage and fire, lifting the weak, lifting us higher. Not by the sword, but the truth we recall. Where we go on, we go on. We've seen the darkness try to reign. We felt the sorrow, we've known the pain, but every trial has forged the steel. In God we trust, His plan is real.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Josh, and welcome to the Red Pill Project's Daily Dose, live with you Monday through Friday. I hope everybody is doing well out there and had a great week off. I had a good week off. I went to Catalina Island. It was fun. It was great. I hung out with Kurt and Christian, who you've seen on this show multiple different times before. A good friend of mine, Chris Eric's Baby Trump. If you guys know Chris, Chris was out there. It was really good to see him. I haven't seen him in a while. And then I spent 2 days in LA with my family. So that was as good as well. Had a great time. Got home late last night, just in time for DEF CON 0. Hope you guys tuned in and got to check it out. But we are back full throttle and shit is hitting the proverbial fan. And so here we go. Sunburn. I'm tan, lady, I am tan. I ain't sunburned. I'm tan. I don't burn. I tan. I learned about that a long time ago. A Prozac projectile, $10 Rumble rant. Shalom from Tel Aviv. Thanks, bro. Appreciate that. And then Hope continues, $50 Rumble rant. Appreciate you guys out there with those Rumble rants. You guys are amazing. The best audience out there. I'm not sunburned. It's tan. You guys are funny. But all right. As John Kidd just posted this historic bombshell. Alex Jones set to reveal the origins of the Q operation, first launched by the Trump administration in early 2017. Yeah, I listened to a little bit of what Stuart Rhodes and Alex Jones were talking about, and I have some things to say about this, and we'll get into that here in a little bit once we get into the news and kind of go through the narrative of what is unfolding right now. A lot of things happening. A lot of things happened when I got in. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to get to all of it, but I can kind of recap. Israel was told not to strike Beirut. Israel struck Beirut. Iran struck Israel. Trump yelled at Bibi. Bibi stood down. And then Trump goes back and says, do what you have to do after Iran attacked them. Bibi did what he had to do. And then things escalated from there between the United States and Iran to where we are today. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. And if you go back a few weeks, what did I say? I said, look, I don't think we're going to have a deal. I think we're going to have another decapitation style event. It's going to start with taking out critical infrastructure, electricity, gas, all of this stuff. And look what's happening right now. We will get into that here in a little bit. What else do we have? Man, some UAP UFO news, a lot of stuff about voter fraud. If you're not paying attention to California, you are missing out because a lot of stuff is happening. And that's kind of interesting because I just came from Southern California. I just came from LA. And I had the pleasure of talking to a few people out there who are absolutely not Trump supporters. And one of them was an Uber driver. I talked about that yesterday, but let me tell you about this. And Captain Will Grimm 338, your nose is burnt, Josh, $10 Rumble rant, and maybe a little bit. Or $10 super chat on YouTube. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you. So one of these people I was talking to, they hate Trump. They're like, I absolutely despise Trump. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to sit here and try to convince you otherwise. But I said, what do you think about what's happening right now in California? And this person looked me straight in the eyes and says, I'm a Democrat. I vote Democrat. I voted Kamala. I voted Biden. And this time I decided to vote Spencer Pratt. All my friends are Democrats and voted Spencer Pratt. He said, we can't stand Bass. And the reason is because of the way she handled the Palisades fire. And he said, looked at me and said, they are stealing this election. He goes, I now believe everything from 2020 that was being said is true because I'm watching it here right now in LA. This is what's happening. People are waking up. There was massive amounts of independents, moderates, and Democrats who voted for Spencer Pratt who are watching that election get taken from them. Now, there's a lot of inconsistencies. There's a lot of things going on. We're going to get into the California stuff here in a little bit, but I just thought that was a very interesting point to bring out and start with because, yes, it is happening right now. And Trump obviously walked off the set of CBS the other day because she was like, what evidence, Mr. President? And he's like, they're stealing California right now. Like, are you stupid? And they just don't care. See, that's what the news media does, is they construct a narrative and then they swing that narrative. And that's kind of how all of this operates on the global scene. As we get going here, you guys see that little scroll bar down below. You see that little scroll bar? There's a lot of things happening on there, just various different links of how you can support myself and the channel. And the channel really is just myself. We have Naturally Inspired Podcasts, and then Nathan Waltz does a few shows, which I did not get up this weekend because I had bad internet reception. I couldn't even get the stuff downloaded, so I apologize for that. But that will be up this week. A few different things. So Friday night is going to be our live Q&A. Friday night, not Wednesday night, not tonight, Friday night, live Q&A. How do you get into the live Q&A? Well, I'm glad you asked. You go to redpills.tv if you're not on one of these platforms. If you're on one of these platforms, just hold on, don't go anywhere. But you go to redpills.tv, you hit premium, and you go over here, and you're going to see Social Red Pill, which is our private social network, YouTube premium subscriptions, locals, Substack, and X subscriptions. If you're on any of those platforms and you have a $5 a month subscription, you get into the Q&A, and it'll be posted Friday night so you can get in. It'll probably be about 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern on Friday night that we're going to do the live Q&A. So I wanted to put that out there. The other thing is we got a sponsors page up there, and you can see all of our great sponsors. We don't have a lot. I mean, there's not a ton to choose from up there, and that's by design. What we do have is, number one, is we have Pet Club. If you guys do not know Pet Club, the Enforce Coriolis Versicolor mushrooms, you have the Clarity, you have the Restore. These things are fantastic. I highly recommend if you do go over to Pet Club, and that's it's petclub.redpills.tv, petclub.redpills.tv. If you do go over there, get that longevity pack, because that's a lot of what we talked about this weekend, and a lot of what people were actually, all the people who work there in the upper echelons, that's what they take this stuff every day, including me. And then the other one, Lifewave, X39 Lifewave. If you guys have not checked out that stuff, please go check it out. We're going to have another introductory meeting, and we're going to be also doing these meetings as well with Pet Club. So Pet Club and Lifewave, we're going to have these introductory meetings for the audience out there to learn more about these things. This is coming here relatively soon. A lot of travel coming up, so just keep that in mind. And then, if you go to the homepage, there's a lot of stuff happening on there as well. Upcoming events, the Great American Restoration Tour, that is June 25th through 28th in Deadwood, South Dakota. I will be there. I will be on a few different panels. The panels haven't come out, but I'm usually speaking every day. If not, I'm there and I'm available. You can hang out with me, have a beer with me. We can shoot the shit. It's a great time. And then July 24th to July 26th, almost a month later after that, we got the annual Red Pill camping trip. If you are going to go, please RSVP. If you're tentative, please still RSVP and just put in the notes that you are tentative. This is in Eureka, Missouri. You can bring your RV, you can bring your trailer, you can bring your tent, you can bring your truck. I don't care. You can bring your four-wheelers, dirt bikes, bring your snowmobile for all we care. It's going to be a good time. So hopefully to see a lot of Red Pillars out there, trying to get some other influencers involved in it. So we will see if we can get anybody to jump in and come on board with us. But after that, shall we begin with the news? The news? Shall we begin with the news? The news? The news. That's right, the news. Give me 1 second. If this is there, I will. Oh, it is there. I'm going to go ahead and do this real cool. Oh man, I was like, Rumble is not working. Holy goodness. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and we're going to get into this news here in a second. I want to go ahead and run this real quick because it's here. We're here, and we'll just knock this one out of the way real quick. This is for Rumble. But we hear a lot about crypto, but here's the part most people miss. Crypto was created so you could actually own and control your money. After the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of banks holding your money, delaying transfers, or limiting access, you are in control. And if you ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you felt that problem. Now, fast forward today, everyone's heard of crypto, but getting started still feels complicated. That's exactly why I use Rumble Wallet. It takes all that complexity and makes it simple. Choose what you want: Bitcoin, dollar-backed stablecoins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. No complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay so you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running in minutes. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like me directly. So do this now. Scan the QR code and click the link in the description and download the Rumble wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some. All right. Let's rock and roll. And going into the economic aspect of things, I said it right here. Buy the dips. We've seen this up and down of the U.S. markets over the last week. It's been pretty crazy. So 1.1 trillion wiped out from the U.S. stock market today. Yeah, okay. Buy the dip. Buy the dip. And tomorrow, if another $1 trillion tears off, buy the dip. If Bitcoin goes down to 40,000, buy the dip. I'm hoping people are listening, because what you're looking at right there is transitory. It is the markets reacting to the geopolitical situation. It is not the actual intrinsic value of these types of assets. Understand that. This is the big part of all of this. And you know what? I wonder if I have the clip. I do have the clip. Oh my God, I do have the clip. Okay. Here's the big part of all this. Donald Trump has secured over $17 trillion with a T, of investment capital flowing into the United States of America over the course of the next 10 years. He's done this through various different large corporations, Apple, Oracle, SoftBank, many different AI companies, as well as he's done this with various different foreign nations and private investors. Foreign nations like United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, all of these, and many, many more. $17 trillion worth of inflow of capital. Why is that so important? Because $17 trillion doesn't flow to a country unless there's going to be a return on investment. That ROI usually has to be about a 3.1 ROI or higher in order for that investment to be viable. Which means that if you just imagine 3 times 17 is what? 51? $51 trillion in excess GDP added on to the United States economy. Start to calculate that in your mind of what that does to the United States of America, the economy, to the jobs market, to the salaries, to the way of life, to the quality of life in this country. It is going to exponentiate this country forward in ways that we can't even imagine right now. It's partly in the idea of innovation. And like I said, with all of that, that Trump administration has this idea of a sovereign wealth fund, of a strategic Bitcoin reserve, merging those two together, of going out there and taking a percentage of these companies that are going to receive a lot of this $17 trillion of investment, like Intel, that he already has, and other companies that the DOD and the DOE are actually directly investing in. What does that mean? It means that the government's going to own a portion of those companies, and when they pay out dividends for that percentage ownership, it'll go into the sovereign wealth fund, as well as with the leaseholders for all U.S. federal lands that are being mined right now and drilled for oil and gas. Those profits generated will go into the sovereign wealth fund. You'll have all of the mineral, energy, and other type of essential value stored within the U.S. sovereign wealth fund. And what will happen there is that when that dividend pays out and funds government and takes over federal taxes so you don't have to pay them anymore, it's going to pay a dividend to every single American. Every single American. Now, has Trump ever said anything about this?
Companies, and what could this partnership look like?
About AI? Well, I can say this. We're having a meeting with them. It's an amazing industry. It's bigger than any industry anyone's ever seen. We are leading China by a lot. And, whoever leads that is going to really lead the world to a large extent. That's how big it is. And I'm going to have meetings with the top 12 or 15 executives very shortly. And we're talking about giving back something to the public. And if we do that, the public will become very rich. The people.
What the hell did he just say there? Is that Donald Trump confirming exactly what I've been saying to all of you for the last year? Listen to that again.
And we're talking about giving back something to the public. And if we do that, the public will become very rich. The people in our country, because that's the kind of money we're talking about. And I think they'll do that. and I think it'll make it very popular.
Huh. Look at that. Guys, we are heading into a renaissance, a golden age. We have to get there first. There's a lot of obstacles in the way. Tonight's show's title is The Second American Revolution, and I truly do believe we are in the midst of the Second American Revolution that started back in November of 2016. Is that all of this that we've seen over the course of the last decade has been fighting a war that most people cannot see, they cannot taste, they cannot hear or touch, but they are affected by it. A silent war that utilizes information, psychological warfare tactics. It's unrestricted in its bounds. It utilizes data and information and artificial intelligence and algorithms. It has aspects of biological warfare, vote warfare, political warfare. All of these tactics are being utilized against you and fought in the Second American Revolution. And what are we truly fighting for? I mean, that's something that we all have to ask ourselves. What are we fighting for? Well, what is it that we're fighting for? Sovereignty? Like, we have sovereignty. We have the strongest military in the world. We're a sovereign nation. Individualized sovereignty? That's never going to happen. We have our rights and our freedoms preserved and given to us by our Creator. And they are codified within the U.S. Constitution, which cannot be changed unless a miracle comes about. What we are fighting for is tomorrow. We're fighting for the future. Our future, our children, our grandchildren's future. We're fighting to ensure that the United States of America, the great idea that has lasted 250 years, survives another 250 years. We are fighting to ensure that China does not beat us within this AI race and wipe out our people, our culture, and our way of life. We are fighting to ensure that the corruption that is buried deep down inside of our government, what we call the deep state, burrowed miles below the surface, within the bureaucracy, within the military industrial complex, within the lobbies, within the corporate infrastructure, within the financial institutions, is rooted out and held accountable. We are fighting to ensure that we can have the United States that we were promised by our forefathers. That's what we are fighting for. And see, here's the thing is we all come out here and we all talk about the war. We all talk about what's happening. We all talk about this or that or the other thing, but we never, ever really talk about what we're fighting for. You have freedom. You simply need to take it. You have sovereignty. You simply need to understand that. What we are fighting for is that tomorrow that can be ensured, that tomorrow our votes count, that tomorrow no deep state bureaucrat can come in and undermine the American people and dictate what you have to put into your body in the context of biological weapons. We are fighting for an America, for a future that we can envision and we can see that makes all of us prosperous, that brings back the opportunities to the land of the opportunity. I think that's what truly Donald Trump is trying to do and trying to set up. And all these people out there, oh, he's corrupt. He's corrupt. And look at him, my God, he's got Qatar money coming in, and Jared and Ivanka moving to an island funded by Qatar. And listen, I don't give a shit about Jared and Ivanka. What Donald Trump does in his personal life is what Donald Trump does in his personal life. People out there, oh my God, Miriam Adelson controls Donald Trump. No, she doesn't. No, she doesn't. But she gave him $200 million. Elon Musk gave him $350 million. Timothy Mellon gave him over $277 million. I don't see people exclaiming that the Mellon banking family controls Donald Trump. Look how much money they gave him. Or Elon Musk controls Donald Trump. Look how much money they gave him. No, just Miriam Adelson because she's Jewish. Now, is she connected to the Mossad? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Is she connected to Bibi Netanyahu? Well, fuck yeah. Not saying she's not. But, you know, you have to start watching what Donald Trump is doing And Pete Hegseth said it best the other day. He said, look, Israel's our partner and our ally in this war, and we see things differently. We have different objectives in this war. And a lot of these times, these objectives conflict. And Israel's just going to have to accept that. In other words, Pete Hegseth was telling Israel that your objectives don't fucking matter. Ours do. Stand down. That's not Israel's ruling the world or controlling Donald Trump. And, this is what you hear from what I call the controlled opposition. But they have no evidence other than sound bites from certain people to back it up. But what we can do is we can look at the actions of Donald Trump. What Donald Trump has done over the course of the last 14 months. Over the course of the last 14 months, we can sit there and lay out a pattern. That pattern is not pro-Israel. That pattern is not Donald Trump sold out or Donald Trump is compromised. That pattern is Donald Trump is trying to build an America for the American people, trying to preserve our way of life, trying to make America prosperous once again and great once again, trying to defeat China in the context of business, natural resources, and trade, which he's done. Trying to undermine the globalist bankers in the same context, trade, in trade, in supply chain, in tariffs. Most importantly, the top of all of this is artificial intelligence. Whoever obtains artificial superintelligence first is going to win this war. And I got it from a really good source that the United States of America has already obtained artificial superintelligence, and that we are simply just going through the motions, having China think that they are in a race against us, when in actuality, China is kind of already defeated and done. We're just trying not to defeat them too bad to the point where they don't go to kinetic warfare, because they're in the midst of proxy warfare. All right, people were asking me about this. So Alex Jones today put out a video. He hasn't put out his intel yet, his information, but I'm going to pay close attention to this. And Alex Jones, come out. Listen to this.
By the way, big announcement here. And I don't need the White House to start calling. Okay. But either tomorrow or the next day.
Okay.
Maybe I'll do a special Saturday show.
Okay.
I told everybody that the Q was started by the White House when Trump first got in 2017. They tried to recruit me into it. It was real. It got taken away from them within 6 months into the administration. Then I was told, don't promote it, even though I didn't join it, because the Democrats had gotten control. Since then, it came out in the Epstein files who ran it, just like I'd mentioned to people on air without saying names. I told the crew the names. And now Kurt Metzger, I got a video set this morning of him on Duncan Trussell's show here in Austin. And Metzger, I guess, read all the files and figured it out. Because when I was reading them, I knew what it meant, but I didn't do it. So I'm not breaking confidence. They tried to recruit me into it.
Okay. Anyways, he goes on an 18-minute rant interrupting Stuart Rhodes over and over and over again. Stuart Rhodes, I like Stuart. I knew him back in the day, like 2007, 2008. I don't think he knows one fucking thing about Q. And either does Alex Jones. Alex goes in to talk about how, Q saying, trust the plan, sit back, be apathetic, and don't do anything. That was not Q for anybody out there who understands the Q boards, who understands Q at all. None of that was Q. So I find it really interesting that Alex says some very specific things here in this post. Now, I got to pull the post back up because I lost it, but I want to read you what I wrote in response to this. I got to find it. Alex claims to have uncovered the truth about Q and is set to expose it. Okay, Alex, I'm willing to listen. Listening to him and Stuart Rhodes, something interesting happens. They attribute the nonsense that Q never said and that was never posted on the board. So they say that, oh, yeah, Q said that Trump was still commander-in-chief after, 2020, and he was still in command and in control of the military, and that Q said just sit back and relax and eat your popcorn and you don't have to. That was never said on the Q boards. Why would Alex Jones put that out there? Why would Alex say that? What did Alex just say in the little clip that I said to you? He claims it was hijacked after 6 months. That's interesting. That's just about the time that Q put out a post targeting Jerome Corsi and Alex Jones. That's the time that Q turned on Alex Jones. Now, was the movement hijacked? Yes, but not at the board level. Instead, at the influencer level. Much of what people believe is Q is actually influencer interpretation and narrative control. That's why we have DEFCON 0. That's why we have Q After Hours. That's what we talk about. Now, this is two people that have turned on Trump coming out saying that Trump created Q and we're going to drop the names of who created it, but then it was hijacked by the Democrats because they infiltrated 8chan and 4chan. He better have some really good evidence. I want to see it, and I'll break it down. So when he does release it, I will break it down. I will post it out there. But my initial comments on it is listening to Alex and Stuart Rhodes. These two people know nothing about the boards. They probably never read the boards nor understand what the quote-unquote plan actually is. Because you can listen to someone when they talk about certain things, and you can understand that what they're pulling in to describe something is nothing more than a constructed narrative that exists within the community, but it's not the actuality of what it was. And that's what they're doing. And they're doing that as psychological warfare tactics and techniques. Now, was Q a psychological warfare operation? Yes. I was the first one back in 2019 to come out and say that, hey, Q's absolutely a psychological warfare operation. I did it. If you want to go back to one of my first interviews that I did on Q, when I was QAnon News, when I was Q Patriot, I went on David Whitehead's show, and then I went on who was it? I went on David Whitehead's show, and then I went on Sean Morgan's show. 1 week after another. And I said, Q is a psychological warfare operation targeted towards the Christian ideology, patriots, veterans, conspiracy theorists, and people with a disdain and distrust for their government. And they're like, wait, it is? I'm like, yeah, absolutely it is. Because those are the people that are actually motivated to go out there, do the research, and dig into things. And what it did is it taught people how to go about and see things differently, how to understand that the deep state is a very real thing, that the globalist agenda is a very real thing, that these people are moving forth with their agendas and they are operating right now and they're trying to stop Donald Trump and to put out breadcrumbs, things that were actually in the public domain that all you had to do is look up and you could find and you could start mapping it all together. And once you started mapping it all together, you go out there and you present your research. And if you have enough people mapping it together and presenting that research, now you can get a full picture that becomes indestructible because you have such a mass of people that are propagating it out there. What it did is it took back the idea of information. It took back over the media conglomerate that was controlled by the left, controlled by the globalists. It gave that power back to you, me, and every other Anon out there. The idea was to take back the domain of information away from those who had abused it and utilized it for their own gain. And guess what? It worked. And I've said this from the get-go. You don't need any more Q posts. If Q starts posting again, it's irrelevant because you don't need any more. We have everything that you need right now because the whole point of it was to bring us to this moment right now to where we could disseminate information better than the mainstream media, that we could keep people informed and understand the complex scenarios that were evolving and unraveling around the world, that we could see the messaging of what was being told to us of how this world is shaped and where it's moving towards and how this battle is actually unfolding. Now, I would love to go on Alex Jones. I'll debate anybody on this topic. But I doubt I'll ever get an invite. Yeah, Alex lost a lot of credibility. President Trump, this is funny, says he directed the U.S. military to execute a secret mission in the Strait of Hormuz, which resulted in over 100 million barrels of crude oil crossing through the Strait of Hormuz. He says, last month, I directed the great U.S. military to execute a secret mission to support oil tankers and other commercial ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Today, I am pleased to announce that the effort has resulted in more than 100 million barrels of oil making its way through the strait and into the open market. More than 200 commercial ships have safely traveled through the strait. This widely successful effort is because the United States of America controls the Strait of Hormuz, not Iran. Very, very big, important point right there. Their military is defeated. Their economy is lost. It's over for Iran. Thank you for your attention on this matter. It goes back to the main objective that Donald Trump was trying to do here with the Iran war, was control the Strait of Hormuz. Because if he can go in there and control a massive trade strait like the Strait of Hormuz, which is one of the largest energy corridors in the world, then that's a signal to China. Don't even try it with Taiwan, because we can go out there and we can embargo China just as easy as you can embargo Taiwan, and we can cut off the Strait of Malacca. This was a signal, non-kinetic signal, to China. In China, they got the message loud and clear. You have Iranian President Pezeshkian coming out today, says it is impossible to force a nation into surrender through air power and bombing. No, it's not. Just wait. Just wait and see, buddy. President Trump said he has considered ordering the U.S. military to begin targeting Iranian power plants and bridges today. We saw this, and he came out and said that we're going to strike them. We're going to strike them hard. And since 1715 military time, the United States has been bombing various different Iranian targets. So what you have is you have IRGC hardliners who are radicals and won't let the civilian government save their country. At some point, you need to eradicate these factions that stand in the way of peace. And I think that these are the moves that we could potentially see over the course of the next few days. What else have we got here? Iran says the strikes have reached its energy heart. These are the strikes tonight. Tasnim reports the American attack on the petrochemical plant at the South Pars gas field and Asaluye after state TV showed air defenses firing around the site. South Pars is the largest gas field on Earth and the engine of Iran's entire energy economy. The claim is Iran's alone for now, and CENTCOM has not confirmed any other targets, but we got these targets actually confirmed. Not only that, yesterday, Trump bombed the shit out of Iran's water. So Iran's water reservoir claim got more substantial. The CEO of the regional water company says U.S. strikes hit its facilities, knocking out drinking water across the entire district. Over 50,000 people are without drinking water in Iran after yesterday's strike. Now, yesterday's strike, by the way, was nothing more than a warning sign, because Trump has said, we're going to strike their infrastructure. We're going to roads, highways, you got landing strips, airports, you got critical infrastructure of the electric grid, you got water, sanitation. All of these things are on the list because that is the next level. So Trump sent a warning yesterday, and today he took out their biggest moneymaker. The next strikes that I think are going to occur by the United States of America are going to be on the critical infrastructure, and they're going to move towards a decapitation event to actually take out the IRGC hardliners and potentially even some of the civilian component government. Trump is saying tonight that Iran called him directly and asked for the bombing to stop, and he says it will stop shortly. Then came the condition, sign the deal or we'll bomb the shit out of them again tomorrow night. Now, this is interesting. I believe that this is Trump and psychological warfare. What do I mean? You have official IRGC and Iranian spokespeople coming out saying, we never called Trump. Or did they? See, the confusion in Iran is what Trump is trying to create. Whether Iran called him or didn't call him, it's the psychological warfare tactic that he's using that brings about the doubt within the mind of all the people in leadership positions in Iran. Pretty simple. Trump comes out and says, oh, Iran called me tonight and they said stop bombing. So we'll stop in a little while, but they don't sign the deal. Tomorrow, we're going to bomb them again. And they understand that this is just small little drips moving up to one big flood. Now, someone in Iran maybe called him, maybe didn't. It doesn't matter. you have doubt cast in the minds of everybody in leadership positions, wondering who the hell called Trump? Well, we need to make an official statement saying that we didn't call Trump, because I didn't call Trump. Did you call Trump? Did you? That's what's going on in leadership right now in Iran. And that undermines, so let's say that Pezeshkian and Arbarashi, these guys are the ones that are negotiating with Sharif in Pakistan with the Trump administration. They don't know who called Trump, is them thinking that Trump is moved on from them, which makes them a target for execution. Like, you see the psychological warfare that comes about from this? Really, really important right there. So it doesn't matter whether Trump called them or not. It's psychological warfare, and it's going to work. I think that you might have them coming to the board to try to talk tomorrow. If not, the bombings will continue. And I think that if Iran goes into full-scale war mode again and starts launching all over the place against the United States, that you're going to see decapitation level event 2.0, U.S. and Israel going in there, no holds barred. And by the way, the U.S. on their first bombing runs when this war started, that was nothing. That was nothing compared to what will happen next. Iran is coming out stating that they shot a hypersonic missile at a U.S. warship. CENTCOM saying it didn't happen. They're just lying. Now, we're going to keep a close eye on what's happening and developing in Iran specifically. I think that we're potentially going to see complete annihilation of their critical infrastructure in a decapitation event, and then the arming of the people of Iran to kind of fully go in and start taking back their government. At least that's what I think is going to happen, because I think that all of the various different pundits in the context of saying that you can't make a deal with Iran are absolutely right. That even if a deal did come about, you can't make a deal with Iran because they're never going to abide by it. Is that Donald Trump has to take this to the next level. He has to finish what he started, and he has to take out all of the command level leadership that are interfering with the negotiations. Now, lots of controversy about Israel. Over the last day, Benjamin Netanyahu and Turkey's president Erdogan have been having some words. Erdogan came out and said Israel must be stopped, calling it a duty of humanity. China also coming out stating that Israel must be stopped because they're going to start World War III. You have Benjamin Netanyahu coming out talking about wanting to take military action directly against Turkey. By the way, Turkey is a NATO ally, which means that if they are attacked by an outside country, they are a NATO nation. That is Article 5 precedence. The United States has to go to their defense, and the United States has bases within Turkey. So this would put the United States in a very, very difficult paradigm or predicament if Israel and Turkey did go to war. Now, by the way, this is an escalation that nobody wants to see. Israel versus Turkey is a real war that could happen, and it would be worse than Ukraine versus Russia, I assure you. It would be bad, potentially even nuclear. All right, gotta wet my whistle here. How we doing out there, guys? Got some people out there in the chat. I'm just checking out. Bibi is a wild card. Bibi's just wild, fucking evil son of a bitch. All right. Quick transition. I say quick transition because we're transitioning. 1 second. I wanted to check something real quick. All right, I'm going to go ahead and run this real quick. We're going to do a transition, so I'm going to run this last ad real quick, and then we will continue with the rest of the show, which we're not even halfway done. All right, parents, real talk for a second. America is about to hit a huge milestone. We're coming up on America's 250th birthday, 250 years of freedom, grit, sacrifice, and the greatest experiment in self-government the world has ever seen. This is the perfect moment to help your kids understand why this country matters, not just fireworks and hot dogs, but the story behind it all. There's a free guide called The Kid's Guide to America's 250th Birthday, and it's honestly a great way to introduce kids to how America began, who the founding fathers were, what they risked, and why their ideas they fought for still matter today. The guide sends kids back to the moment when brave men signed the Declaration of Independence, knowing full well they were risking their lives for freedom. It breaks it all down in a way kids can actually understand and enjoy without watering it down or turning it into boring schoolwork. If you care about raising kids who know where this country came from and why it's worth preserving, this is something you'll want to grab. And the best part, it's completely free with this special offer. You just need to pay the $2 for shipping and processing. Just head to freeusabirthday.com. That's freeusabirthday.com. And the Kid's Guide to America's 250th birthday is yours for your kids today. America's story matters. Make sure the next generation knows it. All right, some good news coming out. Vice President J.D. Vance has referred allegations to DOJ's new fraud division for criminal investigation. Minnesota state officials are not above the law. What did Vance have to say about this? I love this. Criminal referrals by Keith Ellison and Governor Tim Walz. Listen to this.
I guess now I can make a bit of breaking news because I left the White House to come here to do this interview with you. And before I did, we actually referred this particular case to the Department of Justice for a full criminal investigation. We are not going to do what the Biden administration did and make judgments of the law before all the facts are in. But here's what's particularly troubling about this to me is Jesse, you had people within Governor Walz's office who were saying, you know what, this looks like fraud. It looks like these Somalian illegal immigrants are doing something that's very shady. And then you had people who shut them down, who shut these whistleblowers down and said, you know, you're a racist or you're a xenophobe for asking questions about where taxpayer money is going. What that means to me, Jesse, is that clearly people weren't taking fraud seriously. Whether it rises to the level of a criminal violation, we're going to investigate it. And of course, if it does rise to that level, we're going to prosecute it. We have to.
That's Tim Walz and Keith Ellison he's talking about. You got to remember, go back to what Bissett said. We are going to use the same template we use for Minnesota for every other state. And when you have a Vance Rubio or Rubio Vance 2028 presidency, this is going to continue. This is going to be a very long time. But General Flynn, I think, said about 10 years for all of this to come about. Something I talked about last night, me and Alpha on DEFCON 0, Section 224 of the National Defense Authorization Act. This provision would expand U.S.-Israel defense cooperation in the AI, cyber, drones, joint R&D, co-production, manufacturing partnerships, and deeper military technology integration. Yes, Benjamin Netanyahu is the one who wrote this. This was part of their plan to move away from U.S. defense funding over the course of the next 10 years and then become part of the military-industrial complex, conjoined at the hip with the United States military. Not that they will operate the IDF and the U.S. military with the same thing. That's kind of a misnomer. That's not what it's talking about. It's talking more about the technological aspect and the integratory framework of how the militaries actually operate on the military-industrial complex level. What do I think? I don't care if it gets us closer to Israel and allows us to spy on Israel. This is a fucking hard no. We need to ensure that Israel has zero penetration or capabilities into our military, because just as they are our friends now, tomorrow they can easily be our enemy. And that type of situation is not relevant towards the Constitution. So ensure that Section 224 of the National Defense Authorization Act does not get in there, and that your congressman knows to not vote for this and remove this shit. And why? Here's a great example why. New reporting confirms Israel has been eavesdropping on the American peace negotiators themselves. The targets named Steve Witkoff, Trump's top negotiator with Iran, Elbridge Colby, the Pentagon's policy chief, and Michael DiMino, who runs Middle East policy. Israel wasn't just collecting on Americans generally. It was listening to specific men writing the deals Netanyahu opposes. Other words, Shin Bet Mossad were spying directly on American delegates who were negotiating in Iran. Now, I want you to think about this. A day before any type of potential deal would occur, Netanyahu would strike Beirut, or he would strike inside Iran, and he would stop the deal from actually happening. How did he know that the deal was actually going to move forward? Now you do know, because he had active intelligence. He was spying on the United States of America. That needs to be investigated, and you need to kick these motherfuckers out of anything intelligence or defense related. Jim Jordan. ActBlue accepted foreign money and donations under fake names. They knew about it and they failed to stop it. And when we asked them about that, they all pleaded the fifth. IRS records reveal ActBlue CEO Regina Wallace-Jones now is under federal investigation, has been getting paid double the previous CEO, hauling in almost $800,000 a year, and has spent almost $3 million on security, including a ratoon of personal bodyguards, while blowing through nearly $5 million travel budget, including checking herself into presidential suites and luxury hotels. What does Mike Davis have to say about this? I think we all got a lot to say about this.
ActBlue is one of the biggest donation machines for the Democrat Party. And the allegations are that ActBlue intentionally got rid of its anti-fraud measures leading up to the 2024 election so it could accept illegal foreign donations through straw donors. Congress asked ActBlue about this, and its law firm, Covington and Burling, sent a letter, helped draft a letter, and sent a letter to Congress saying what they supposedly did with these anti-fraud measures to make sure that this didn't happen, to make sure we didn't have foreign money pouring into our elections in 2024. And ActBlue, according to these New York Times and other reports, lied to Congress. Here's the question I have. What did Covington and Burling know, and when did it know it? What involvement did Covington and Burling's lawyers have with this allegedly intentional material misrepresentation to Congress? Did Covington and Burling lawyers do any due diligence before it helped draft this letter from ActBlue? It seems very odd that one of the supposedly best white shoe law firms in Washington, D.C. Helped facilitate this materially false misrepresentation to Congress before the 2024 election. Covington and Burling is known as one of the Democrat firms. So what was their involvement in this?
No. Don't bury the lead. Don't bury the lead. Don't bury the lead. It's Eric Holder's firm. He's the white-collar criminal division. Covington and Burling is an extension of the Democratic Party. It is a powerhouse law firm in Washington, D.C., and they infest the Justice Department. This is one of the what Todd...
Spot on. So what you're getting here is that this goes much, much deeper than you can imagine. That ActBlue today invoked the Fifth Amendment 22 times during the House probe into foreign donation vetting. Now, the only reasons that you plead the Fifth to avoid providing evidence that could lead to their own criminal charges because the questions touch on potentially illegal activity, their testimony could expose their crimes or organization, and as their CEO said, on the advice of her counsel. And this is just classic. This is classic Democrats in the hot seat. Listen to this.
I respectfully decline to answer this question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution. Counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution. I respectfully decline to answer the question.
Okay, you get the gist. Why is this so important? So, we are trying to battle rampant voter fraud. But see, voter fraud doesn't just happen at the ballot box. It's not just mail-in ballots or going out there and hacking a Dominion machine and changing the tabulations. What you also have is you have money. Money wins elections. I think that people understand that. Money wins elections. It runs your advertisements. It pays for your campaign. It dictates how many people you can reach. And for the longest time, the Democrats have been funneling USAID out to foreign NGOs, which then funnel that money, laundering it through various different channels to private organizations that then spoof ActBlue credit card data, which was given to them, and then make maximum donations for these people on the voter list that never actually made the donation, and max it out to all of these Democrat candidates so they can get elected, so they have money. Now, here's one thing that we have to understand about this. The only reason that you have to launder tax money overseas back into the United States, into a private shell organization, into your super PAC, is because nobody's giving you money. None of your constituents are actually donating to you. That your following, your constituents, the mass of Democrats doesn't actually exist. That is the one thing that nobody's talking about. Why do the Democrats have to funnel all of this foreign money in, which the foreign money was nothing more than U.S. taxpayer dollars sent out the NGOs? But why did they have to funnel it in and then use criminal illicit activity through Act Blue to fund Democrat campaigns? Because they didn't have the people backing them financially. They don't have 40, 50, 60 million Democrats financially funding them. Most of the Democrats, they can't even fucking afford to live because they're socialists. But understanding that when Trump was out there raising $400, $500 million from his constituents, that scared the shit out of the Democrats. And even right now, I've already said it, the Democrats are broke. They are $4.1 million in debt. Their campaigns, they're basically focusing not only on campaigns of power brokers right now. You have candidates dropping out because they cannot afford their campaigns. This is huge. I told you that the Democrats, we're watching the systematic destruction of the old guard, systematic destruction of the Democrat Party. There is going to be a red wave coming this November. President Trump said California Democrats are cheating like dogs after Spencer Pratt's loss. But they called it for Steve Hilton to avoid an uproar. You can't cheat like they did and look at that election in California as an example. After 1 week, they determined that the candidate who's leading and had all of the mojo, all of a sudden he doesn't make the runoff. I started talking about Steve Hilton, who's a fantastic guy, and I saw them say it was going to be 2 weeks before they knew. When I started hitting them, it's going to happen to Steve Hilton too. Trump is watching it. Trump is seeing what is happening right now, and this is all interconnected. California, Act Blue, and then we have more information coming out here. 11,326 people who voted a full month ahead before the election in 2020 appeared on the official voter rolls for the Arizona 2020 election after they voted. I'll say that again. 11,326 people who voted a full month before they appeared on the official voter rolls for the Arizona 2020 election was greater than the margin by which Joe Biden won the state. This is impossible unless this was fraud. What this means is that there wasn't enough registered voters on the voter rolls for the margin that Joe Biden won Arizona by. The voters were added onto the rolls to cover the missing voters after the election when the audits began to be being performed so that books would balance out. Investigative journalist Lara Logan drops a bombshell. Says U.S. went after Maduro because they rightly knew Venezuela rigged the 2020 election with Iran and the CCP, claims an eyewitness is in custody. Venezuela stole the election from Trump, working with the Iran, CCP, and others. We know a lot of the details because there's a very senior Venezuelan sitting in a prison who was actually an eyewitness to the theft. You want to know why President Trump doesn't get the support he needs from a country like Spain? The cartel in Venezuela that runs the country, Cartel de los Soles, selected the Spanish prime minister. 72 different people around the country, around the world, they control. Why does America get all this heat from all over the world? The globalist Marxist Islamist alliance that uses these cartels and its army all work together. The election in LA isn't about one enemy. It's about all of America's enemies working together. I agree with you, Lara Logan. California. This is from U.S. Attorney Bill Asali. He's saying California is blocking the federal audit of its voter rolls. I'm hoping that this goes to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court deems that the states have to give up their voter rolls. Wait, they already did. California allows first-time voters to register using forms of ID that most Americans would find surprising: gym memberships, employee ID cards, credit or debit cards, prescription drug label, insurance card. Yes, that's true. And they are blocking their voter roll. Why? Because it goes back to exactly what we just said. How about this one? This will make a lot more sense. Voters were rejecting the new sales tax increase in Los Angeles County. But because of a surge of the late mail-in ballots, the sales tax increase passed. The same late mail-in ballots that pushed Nithya Raman ahead of Spencer Pratt also pushed through Democrats' sales tax increase. Think about this for a second. I'm going to talk about one of the strangest results in the LA County. Sales tax increase that would take the sales tax in Los Angeles County from a very high 9.75% to the almost unthinkable 10.25%. One of the highest in the country. Why did this happen? Initially, it looked like the Measure ER in the tax increase was going to fail. But with late ballots coming in, especially for Nithya Raman, the increase actually passed. Guys, if you want to think that the poorest of the poorest in California, the socialists and the commies approve this tax hike, you're nuts. Paying attention? A few months ago, Donald Trump signed an executive order on election integrity, basically saying that the United States Post Office has to take certain measures for the 2026 midterm elections. Well, the United States Postal Service just flipped the script on mail-in voting. The states must hand over their full mail-in and absentee voter list plus every ballot's personalized barcode or risk the USPS stopping delivery entirely. I'll say that again. Under Trump's March executive order, the United States Postal Service is now implementing this. States must hand over their full mail-in and absentee voter list. The one thing that they will not hand over to the DOJ, they must hand over to the Postal Service. Plus every ballot's personalized barcode or risk the United States Postal Service stopping delivery entirely. In other words, if you are going to send out a mail-in ballot through the United States Postal Service, that ballot has to be registered to somebody and it has to be checked off a list that the United States Postal Service actually has and match the barcode. I hope that works. The Nithya Raman was actually tied into a homeless NGO in LA, receiving over $600,000 with thousands of homeless voters registering at shelters with 0 beds. Yes, they were paid $2 a piece, and hundreds of people went around signing these homeless people up to vote on the spot, paying them $2 for their vote. You can't buy votes. That's voter fraud. And guess what we're hearing now? Trump appointed U.S. Attorney Bill Esselstyn. He tells Chris Cuomo there is evidence of voter fraud in California and they're investigating voter rolls, but did not give any specifics. What is he talking about here? Exactly what I was just talking about. James O'Keefe and his team went out there and uncovered this.
So then you have not conducted an investigation. You are conducting one. So you don't know. And you are in the business of knowing right now. You don't. You are pointing to one case. And you know what? You could point to a dozen. Do you know why? Because those are all the cases you've made in the last decade. A dozen individual cases.
I did not say that
found
we
to be
have
lacking.
Found wide-scale fraud. There's two different things going on here. You're saying for sure you know. Hold on a second. You're saying for sure you know there isn't. I'm saying we don't know because we haven't been able to look at all the evidence at scale.
Yeah, but no.
Why is that? Let's talk about the voting system in California.
Mr. Esselstyn, if you were in a court of law right now, and I don't need your opinion on the system because you're not a voting system expert, you're a prosecutor. That's why I have you here. If we were in a court of law and you said, Judge,
I was in the legislature. I was in the legislature on the election committee. I know a little bit about California's voting system. Yes.
So wait a minute. You want me to take somebody's experience in a state legislature for how long?
I was there. I was in the legislature for 3 years. I've been involved in election integrity long before that as an attorney. And we could talk about.
I've covered elections for 30 years, Mr. Esselstyn. 30 years. You know how many cases of widespread fraud I've covered? One, and it was the Trump administration.
All right. Okay, under federal law, we're entitled to audit California's voter rolls. Under
Yes, you are.
multiple civil rights statutes, we're entitled to audit
Yes,
those.
you are.
The state is resisting.
Yes, you are.
Why is that?
I know.
Why are they resisting?
It's a bad look.
The best way to
It's a
the
bad
best
look.
way to deal with all this is to have transparency and to give people, like Chris, I don't care what the outcome of the election is. We want people to have confidence in the systems and that the laws are being followed.
I agree.
So yeah, when California lets you register to vote with a gym card, that is not a good system. When you can register to vote with a debit card, that's not a good system. When you don't clean your voter rolls, that is not a good system. When you legalize ballot harvesting, which is illegal in most states with no chain of custody, not a good system. And then you ask us, why don't we have evidence of wide-scale fraud? Because
the last part is inaccurate.
What's inaccurate?
The last part is inaccurate. The other ones are good arguments. They're just political arguments, not legal ones. And again, you are in a legal capacity, not a political one. Okay? Maybe you're getting them confused because of the legislative hat or being in the Trump administration. But if you were in a court of law right now, Mr. Assaley, and said to a judge, Your Honor,
I'm telling you why we need to audit the rolls.
Excuse me, sir. Hold on a second. I'm not saying you shouldn't audit the rolls. I was nodding along and saying yes, yes, while you were saying we have every right to audit the rolls, and the state saying no is a bad look. That's what I said, a bad look. All right, so I'm with you. But if you were to say to a judge, Your Honor, we don't know that they didn't do it, that is a bullshit standard. Now, it works in politics, not in law. That's what I want to make sure you know how to keep straight.
We have not charged the state of California with wide-scale voter fraud. We're conducting an investigation. We have not brought a case.
We are conducting an investigation, and that's the most important part. With what James O'Keefe's team found the other day, if you're talking 40,000 people were paid $2 a piece for their vote, that's illegal. And then those 40,000 votes were dumped into the voter rolls and won the election for Karen Bass, that's illegal. I'm telling you, this is going to come down hard on California. This was interesting. This is similar stories I'm hearing all over the place. I don't know who Erin Durman is, but she says here, my network in Los Angeles is entirely liberal. Not the wild ratchet liberals you see all over X, but they are extremely liberal nonetheless. Most of them stopped speaking to me when I became a conservative, yet they all voted for Spencer Pratt. Leonardo DiCaprio publicly endorsed him and have a most intelligent and successful liberals. That is how badly LA needs strong common sense leadership. Spencer became the ultimate unifier. If he is formally defeated, this will be the ultimate red pill experience for California. There is no way this election is not rigged. No way. This is the precipice. People are beginning to see. People are waking up. From Seth Keshel, he says, when the Supreme Court bans the counting of late arriving mail-in ballots, and they almost certainly will, that I think is coming up very, very soon, by the end of this month, by the end of June, the ramifications will be sweeping and instantly felt, especially in states like California, Oregon, Washington, and Nevada, which have mastered mail fraud. For instance, Dems are counting on a 48-4 House split in California with their new map. They can get it and still miss the House majority as the maps stand today. If they get 46-6 or 44-8, they suffer devastating losses. And if that latter, perhaps odds below 20% to take the majority, other seats like Nevada's 3 may become playable too. It remains a terrible thing to watch, but California's open treason has created the greatest demand for ripping up election corruption by its roots since 2022's races in Arizona, if not the 2020 election itself. And don't think that you're going to actually get the Save America Act. John Thune says the Save America Act is dead. He's not getting the votes to nuke the filibuster, and he's laughed when asked if President Trump could turn on him as a result. I have a feeling that someone is going to come out in the next 30 to 60 days, probably a staffer that slept with John Thune. And you're going to see a scandal, and the Speaker of the House is no longer going to be the Speaker of the House and probably resign. I'm making that prediction, putting it out there. But I don't think the Save America Act is going to happen. What's going to happen is something else entirely. You are going to get a national emergency on election integrity and infrastructure. And that national emergency is going to come at the precedence of DNI Tulsi Gabbard's report, which I believe is going to come out next week, which is going to lay the foundation for everything that's going to come from July 4th moving forward. Republicans are now favored to win the House of Representatives in the 2026 midterms by the latest inside election forecast. They only need 7% or one of the 14 toss-ups to attain the majority. This comes because of redistricting. Huge. President Trump has endorsed Senator Susan Collins for re-election in Maine. Yeah. He says she's the same woman. She's not my best friend at all. She's a person that's never missed a vote in many years. I mean, she's like 10,000 votes. She's had 10,000 votes. She never missed a vote, unfortunately, because sometimes she votes against me. You know, look, she's a sane woman and she's a respected woman. Maybe a little different ideology than me, but this guy, he's a thug. He's a fake thug. He's a phony. I made a lot of money picking out phonies. He's a real phony. He's a bad person. And he's talking about the person that she's running against, which is Graham Plattner. And Maine is a huge election. They are pumping tons of money into Maine to take out Susan Collins. All right. Transition. Man, I forgot how hard it is to talk all this time. I'm joking. I don't want to do that one. Kind of okay. David Grush and a few others had a kind of an impromptu message to President Trump along with Congressman Burchett and Burleson and many others. David Grush said during this announcement today on the Capitol Hill, on the Capitol stairs. Listen to this.
There is a declassified 1971 Australian, formerly classified secret assessment that a couple years ago was put in the Australian National Archives. I encourage people to read page 7 through 16, and that was the nuclear branch chief of the Australian government discussing the U.S. cover-up and the involvement of the CIA back in the 70s. And that.
Oh, interesting, David Grush. And what he's saying is the Australian National Archives, page 7 through 16. What it also talks about is anti-gravitation research and how the CIA and the U.S. government covered this up. Not only that, he said something else that's quite interesting, something that you've heard on this show for a long time and you won't be surprised about, but listen to this.
I certainly don't have the compendium. It's a continuum from corporeal, bipedal type life to what I would consider like sentient plasmoid life, but there are several.
Sentient plasmoid life. Remember when I said that there is no separation between the paranormal, ghosts, and all of that stuff? Remember how I said the whole spirit world, angels, demons, angels, and then aliens, and all of this is just expressions of consciousness? Plasma beings. Interesting. For a while, we've talked about Jaime Hashem. This is the former IDF general head of Israeli intelligence who talked about Donald Trump and the Galactic Federation. So Uri Geller says, for those who don't know, Jaime is not just another voice in the UFO world. This man spent decades leading Israel's space security program. In recent years, he became internationally famous when in 2020, he bravely stepped forward and told news outlets around the world what he knew to be true, that there is, in fact, a galactic federation. Jaime insists the federation really does exist, and he says the world governments have known this for years. And here is something that might blow your minds. Many of you may know that Dr. Andrea Perek and I received numerous communications in the 1970s from a group of beings who described themselves as Intergalactic Council and called themselves the Nine. But what you may not know is that Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, was part of the group of researchers, thinkers, and experiencers who also received communications from the Nine. This is Uri Geller talking about this. He goes on to talk about how Jaime Hashem, who he just sat down with, basically put it all out there, how he was tracked by the Men in Black after he talked about Trump and the Galactic Federation. Now, why is this interesting? We're coming to the point in disclosure where these details are going to matter. These things are going to come out. There's going to be a lot of people out there in the UFO community who are going to get completely ran over. What do I mean? They're full of shit. They're nonsense. They're garbage. I've been seeing, Dr. Michael Salla is someone I respected for a long time, and I've had him on the show a couple times. But more recently, this guy has delved into absolute just nonsense. And the people that he's bringing forth are just more aspects of nonsense. And it's very easy, I believe. And if I had the opportunity to talk to these people, I could probably easily prove them wrong because they're going to miss out on specific details. But you can just tell when someone's a psyop and when someone's true and legitimate. There's certain ways that the military operates or that the government operates, and these people just don't seem to have that. Now, going into that, what I'll say here is that I think a lot of people that have been influencers in the UFO UAP community for a very long time are about to get disproven, are about to be shown that they really don't know what the hell they're talking about, that many of them were just making it up. That's what I think. But I think that we're also going to learn a lot of truth. I think over the course of the next 12 months, we're going to learn a massive amount of truth about extraterrestrials, ultra-terrestrials, interdimensionals, plasma life forms, and anti-gravity. Because in order to understand the world that's coming, the Second American Revolution, about securing our elections, about going forth with all of this stuff and preserving our way of life, this is the catalyst that brings it all about. Technological innovation of the likes that you've never seen before on this planet. 500 years of advancement in less than 20 years. That is coming at the assistance of artificial intelligence with the largest American scientific community that has ever been compiled, as well as with all different levels of advanced research for the last 50 years, bringing about innovation that's going to blow our minds. And in order for that all to happen, humanity has to change their paradigm, their perspective of this old world, and enter into a much larger, much bigger universe where they're not alone. At least that's what I think. All right, guys, I will be back with you tomorrow night. This was a good day back. We did an hour and 18 minutes. That was good. My voice hurts. So, but hey, much love, respect. God bless. Take care. Have a great night. Redpills.tv, redpills.tv, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. Have a good one, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Good night.
There was a time when our children stood tall, hand on their hearts, one voice for all. There was a time when honor had weight, when the flag was a symbol, not a debate. There was a time when our history was known, with pride in the rules that made us our own. There was a time, respect for the brave, for those who bled, for the lives they gave. Now the homeland burns in silent war. Truth is twisted, we can't ignore. Voice still calls, we the people will not fall. There was a time, but the time isn't near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, veil under, patriots rise. We are one, land of the free, home of the brave. No more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, take back the fight. Children of freedom, stand for the light. There was a time when truth was clear, when the media served, not ruled by fear. There was a time stood fast, guarding the people, defending the past. Now corruption wears a crown, lies are fed to tear us down. But Q said watch, and Q said see, the silent war will set us free. From the front lines, soldiers stare, wondering if we're still there. Their blood, their hope, their sacrifice will not be sold for a last prize. There was a time, but the time isn't near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, the veil undone. Patriots rise, we are one. Land of the free, home of the brave. No more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, take back the fight. Children of freedom, stand for the light.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on. Or we will spend our sunset years telling our children what it was once like in the United States where men were free.
There was a time, the time is near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, veil undone. Patriots rise, we are one. Land of the free, home of the brave. No more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, take back the fight. Children of freedom, stand for the light. There was a time, there was a time. Now is the time. Do it.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation. I want you to get mad.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
The more you fuck around, the more you're gonna find out.
These people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!